How old was Grandma when she started acting like...
Why? Are you...
Sarah, put the phone down. Sarah, put the phone down.
I can hear the future.
And it sounds like Cordkillers!
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love, when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, I'm Brian Brushwood, and more importantly, we are joined by America's favorite TV critic and enthusiast. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for your Merrill Barr!
Why am I on screen yet?
Because he's too busy doing air horns. How you been, man?
I'm good, man. It's a new year. It's a new me.
A new Merrill?
Not really. We have things to talk about that aren't quibby, I hope.
This may be a Quibi-free episode, actually, oddly.
Unless we find out that NBC's new offering is just Quibi in disguise.
Literally, I love how literally I asked you guys in the pre-show, should I try to hold back on the cursing? And it literally just dropped an S-bomb by accident.
Dropped Cuba by saying Quibi.
And with that, we're going to jump into the primary targets.
Oh, Brian, I was so glad this didn't happen while you were gone. NBC Universal announced the details of the cock. Peacock will launch April 15th on Comcast's Xfinity Z1 and Flex video platforms, basically for Comcast subscribers.
Now, is this the new beta test? Is you roll it out to your home family? You encourage people?
A little bit. It's a little bit of a perk for people who are still paying you for cable TV. It's a little bit of and also thank you for testing this for us before we launch it to everyone else on streaming apps and the web on July 15th.
It's also an easy way to, I think, spread the word.
Yeah,
because you can because subscribers, you go to a friend's house who has Comcast and it's like,
has Xfinity. Yeah. There will be a free ad-supported version called Peacock Free for everyone. That'll have about half the content, 7,500.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just so disappointed they're not calling it Freecock. That would be the best.
I saw that smile on your face as he read it.
They're calling it.
We're children.
7,500 hours of programming, next day access to current season NBC shows, kind of like what you get from Hulu now. Curated content like SNL. They have something called The Vault, family movies. Peacock Free has most of the library. It won't have all the episodes of Peacock originals, but it will have some of the originals in there. But it's free and ad supported. A full content version called Peacock Premium will be free if you're an Xfinity or Cox cable subscribers. So Cox subscribers get free Peacock. What?
Go ahead.
If you're not a subscriber to Cox or Xfinity, it's $5 a month. Includes live sports, including some Premier League stuff coming on. Early access to the late night shows. If you want to watch Tonight Show in earlier, you can do that. Full catalogs of whatever NBC has the rights to, including currently airing shows and Peacock originals. That's like 15,000. It's about double the amount of content you get in the free version. And you can get it without ads. Peacock Premium costs $5 a month without ads if you're an Xfinity or Cox cable customer, $10 a month for others. When you launch the service, video just starts playing. Brian, it's like a TV channel.
Yeah.
So it might be a game, some news, a show, whatever.
I am certain that Merrill has a complete breakdown. So my one thought before we go to Merrill on all of this is, as I read the statement and the announcements, it seemed like there was a lot of justification for garbage ideas. Like they said, oh, we're doing you a favor by shoving content down your throat because we want to prevent FOMO. And I'm like, yeah, likely story. That's a good way to force people to watch your content. And he says, For example, whenever there's a Saturday Night Live sketch that the whole world's talking about, everybody goes to YouTube. So as a result, you have to go to some other place because you're afraid of missing out. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, that happens to me all the time. And I was like, you're telling me that I'm just going to load the app and all of a sudden it's going to have the thing that everybody's talking about? So weirdly, I am 100% on board, even though I'm allergic to marketing hype. But this sounds like exactly what I've been asking for, especially since it has multiple curated experiences, including just sort of watching the way you use it and then figuring out, you like this kind of stuff, but also what everybody else is excited about.
Okay. I'm going to say something that might get me kicked off Cordkillers.
Uh-oh.
Guys, I am pro-cock. I am cock
Are you
all the
kidding
way.
me? We accept you more.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Here's the thing. As of this moment, Peacock just became the front runner in Generation 2 for me. I think that there is no streaming service so Generation 1 is Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, right? And then you could argue there's Generation 1.5, which had like your ancillary players, a YouTube showed up, CBS All Access showed up a little bit.
Tubi, Philo,
Pluto, Shudder. And then Stars and Showtime rolled out add-on channels to other services. We're now entering Generation 2, Quibi, HBO Max, Peacock, and all these services. As far as I can say right now, there's no service that has come out of the gate that is more defined and more understandable in terms of not only the content they're going to offer, but how they're going to make money on that content. I know exactly how Peacock is going to structure as a business. It makes complete sense. And I wrote an article on Deadbeat Critics called "The Future of Streaming is Ad Supported," and it's true. The first entity that can really embrace ads in a way that works is going to be the front runner. I don't know if they'll be the winner, but they'll be the front runner. And the reality is Peacock is the only one right now that goes, okay, you know that huge library of universal content, which, by the way, I watched the stream of the announcement. When you see that library laid out, it's impressive. It is an impressive amount of stuff that they're going to offer not only for free, but through human curated linear channels like Pluto, but with, as Tom put it last week when he and I met up, stuff you actually want to watch. And it's going, I think I'm actually excited for Peacock. I'm excited for everything they're trying to do. I think that they're going about it very smart. And I think this is a better rollout of something than Quibi. It's a better rollout than HBO Max. It's the best rollout of any streaming service beyond the big three I've ever seen.
I want to explain something about the interface here, because you mentioned those linear channels. And if people are like, wait, what does that mean? When you go into the interface, you can choose channels, browse, trending, and then they have the typical menu items like TV shows, movies, etc. Browse is just your typical row of categories. Continue watching, new editions, that stuff. Trending will be your clips, news, sports, entertainment, kind of that stuff that like Brian was talking about. Like, here's the hot new SNL clip, or here's a news clip of something that's important. Here's a sports highlight. But channels looks like a cable guide. Now, some of the channels will be things like NBC Sky World News, which will be available on Peacock when it launches later this year. Some of them will be the kinds of channels that you expect, like NBC News Now, but some of them will just be the SNL channel, and you'll just pop into it and it'll be playing, the best of Saturday Night Live. There's some other interesting channels on there as well. I'm yet to see like a definitive list, but that is a very, I don't know. I feel like you're right, Merrill, in that they're doing a lot of the things we've been talking about for a while, which is, it's not just that it's ad supported, it's that it's free. Right?
It's free. And also, I do want to address someone in the chat, Beatmaster80, who is talking about how ads impede on the content. Very important fact here. They made a point of this in the announcement. Every viewable hour will have only 5 minutes of advertising, which basically means your standard hour-long show, which features 5 ad breaks, each ad break will be 1 minute long. And this has been my argument regarding the advertising debate forever. The issue audiences have, whether they realize it or not, is not the idea of ads. It's that advertising has gotten haywire in the last 3 decades. And it went from when television started, you had 50 to 55-minute runtimes on broadcast television. This is way back in the day. And it's evolved into where you could have a half-hour show with only 18 minutes of actual episode content. It's gone too far. So what they're saying is, we're going to make the ad time more valuable. We're going to have less of them, and each minute is going to be worth more. But it's only going to be 1 minute, which means we're going to get probably on the original side of Peacock, 55-minute run times with 5 minutes of ads. That's totally acceptable in my mind.
The biggest thing about Peacock, Brian, before we go back to you, is they are addressing, I want to sometimes just turn on something good and watch it. They're giving you that. I'm tired of having to choose to subscribe to stuff. They're giving you that free ad supported. You can just try this thing out. It'll have some originals. It'll have a lot of the content. And then if you really find it valuable, then you can decide if you want to pay for it and if you want to pay extra for ads. In fact, if you're a Comcast subscriber or even a Cox Communications subscriber, you'll just get it for free with ads, and you only have to pay if you want to get rid of the ads. You'll get the full thing. So they're fighting subscription fatigue, fighting the lean back impulse. Like you said, they have amazing content. I mean, Brian, this sounds like they're doing the right things that they need to do at this stage, especially considering that NBC has a list of clients already. They sell ads. This is something they do that they can go and say, hey, we have these established relationships. We'd like to bring you in on this new product.
Yeah, I think that they do a really good job of courting the demographic that flat out, it's never going to be on the table for them to pay for a premium subscription. For example, all of my children are, they're enjoying The Good Place. We're as a family going back and watching Parks and Recreation, NBC properties and so on. They, for all I know, would easily gravitate to this and not mind the ads one bit. And then eventually they could complain about the ads to their parents and get us to subscribe for whatever. But the important thing, the question I had, or two things. Number one, the trending stuff. I loaded up Hulu today or yesterday, and just front page was a big old Kobe Bryant retrospective and all that stuff. Think of the power of that with the back catalog that NBC is going to have, that when major news hits or whatever, they're able to pull up, re-experience this particular game or this documentary that we put together, whatever. But how much in the announcement did they brag on the behind the paywall premium only available on Peacock content?
Very, very little. They actually went out of their way in the announcement during the presentation to basically say, look, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, they all have this subscription model. We're going to have that too. But that's not really what we're here to talk about today. We want to talk to you about free.
That is so important, because we're going to talk later on about Picard. I don't know how long we've been covering CBS All Access, but finally, I knew there would be a day that I finally had to subscribe to it, and I knew that we had agreed that we were going to review Picard, but I'll be damned if last night it was not with great resentment. I actually took out a one-time burner card just so I could subscribe to it. It was painful and I didn't like it, and it sounds like everything about Peacock is going to be the opposite of that experience. It sounds like it's going to be easy for me to come in, and maybe I'll put up with ads until I decide I love it, at which point I'll start paying for it happily.
The other thing is, I feel like they are using the service in a way to get around certain issues. They're trying to apply certain linear rules, old school linear television rules, to digital, but they're also using the technology in a way that allows them to circumvent certain issues. For example, you mentioned at the top how you'll be able to watch, all the late night shows at 8:00 at night. The thing is that, but what that really means is that they tape those shows around 4:00 in the afternoon. If you're taping those shows at 4 and they're going to be available at 8:00, that basically means they're turning around those recordings within hours of them being completed. So which means for the first time, you'll be able to watch a late night show and have it really feel like it's present. Like they're talking about what really happened that day, because if some giant news breaks, they finish at 4 and something breaks at 8, well, they're still kind of current then. It's no longer like, well, why aren't you talking about this thing? Because that thing happened before
It's a bit like getting the East Coast feed universally, because I know I think some cable
but it'll
providers
be early for the East Coast people.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's great.
The other thing about this is they, like you said, they are really emphasizing their catalog. of NBC stuff.
Which is so impressive. It's huge.
They're emphasizing their news operation, which is something Disney Plus is not incorporating. They're saying, look, this is going to be news and sports in this service as well. You're going to get Olympics coverage, and if you pay, you're going to get extra Olympics coverage. Their originals are there. They're even there in the free version. If you don't pay anything, if you're not a Comcast subscriber, if you go for the super basic, Peacock free, you will get select episodes. We don't know if that means like the first couple episodes or it means the rolling most recent 5 episodes. There's different ways of doing it, but you'll get them. It's just, if you want to make sure you have access, then you have to go to Peacock Freemium. But that seems fair too. It's like, if for instance, in the case of Picard, if this was Peacock, you probably would have been able to watch that first episode on the free tier and decide if it was worth your money to upgrade or not.
It sounds like they're building their business model towards an idea of, you guys talk about how the future is people subscribing to a subscription service for an X amount of time to get the thing they want, and then unsubscribing and having these rolling cycles of different things you're subscribing to throughout the year. It sounds like they're prepping for that inevitability where they'll go, okay, this month, guys, for the next 3 months, new episodes of Battlestar Galactica. So come on in, and people will subscribe for 3 months, watch Battlestar, and then go. But they'll still make money because they have the ad-supported tiers.
Yeah. Amongst the originals that they talked about were Hatching Twitter, a documentary series based on the book by Nick Bilton. The Adventure Zone, an animated comedy podcast about D&D-like troupe based on a popular McElroy podcast. MacGruber, based on the SNL character played by Will Forte. Clean Slate, a Norman Lear show about a car wash owner in Alabama whose trans child returns home after 17 years. I mean, if I just wanted to make up, like if Norman Lear did a show in 2020, what would it be about? That's pretty much what it would be about. Expecting, which is a Mindy Kaling produced show about a woman who becomes a mother with her gay best friend. Division One, an underdog women's college soccer team gets a new coach. Drama. Girls 5 Eva, a comedy about the reunion of a fictional 90s pop girl group produced by Tina Fey. And then they just said, oh yeah, and coming is Battlestar Galactica reimagined, Saved by the Bell, reboot, Punky Brewster. That's all down the road, but they didn't even hammer on that.
That is an astonishing lineup of originals. And to make that the background of their announcement and instead focus on their already strong catalog and the freemium model, wow.
And that was only the scripted stuff. They announced a bunch of for example, they're going to have a new Sam B. I forget who was doing it, but a Sam B style weekly political talk show. They're going to have something like that. They're going to have, there's
going to be a bunch of news and sports stuff too.
Oh yeah.
No, it's interesting, and I feel like I should disclose that my wife works for a company that's owned by NBC Universal, in case I'm sounding too enthusiastic about this. But it does seem like of the things we've been saying, if you're going to launch a streaming service, you have to do this. I don't know. Peacock seems like, other than a silly name, it's doing most of them.
Let me put it like that. Let me put it like this: if Quibi had announced their structure that looked like this, where it was, here's the free tier with ads, and this is what it will look like. Here's the premium tier with ads. Here's the premium no ads tier. I would understand Quibi, right? And Quibi doesn't have that. Without that free sort of tier with ads, I don't know how you make money as a service.
And honestly, I think, and we'll talk about this a little when we get to talking about Netflix next. NBC is leaning into one of its advantages. It leaned into most of its advantages, one of which is we know we can sell ads day one. Quibi is like, yeah, they got a lot of big names behind it and they can convince advertisers, and they've done so, but they're working from nothing and having to build up relationships. NBC has a sales staff out there. They have clients. They can turn on the spigot and throw in some ads on packages, get people to try it out. They'll be making money off ads immediately in a much easier way than starting from zero like Quibi.
And also they have a strong reputation for known high-quality content that dates back half a century, which last time I checked, Quibi doesn't have.
Yeah, more than half a century. If you can't radio, it's more than a century. So, yeah.
Oh, how wild would that be if they had an old-time radio channel?
Oh, that would be so cool.
Oh, you could time travel. Oh, that would be amazing.
I wouldn't be shocked if they announced there'll be like Quibi, like Netflix is doing podcasts. I wouldn't be shocked that there's like an announcement of of Peacock podcasts, and you can listen to them on the mobile device through the app, on your television through the app. I can see that coming.
All right. Listen, folks, we don't have a bunch of ad salespeople with pre-existing relationships like NBC, but we have something better, Brian. We have them.
Doggone right, man. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers and join the 1,000+ folks who keep us loud, live, and independent as we bring you news and commentary in the world of cutting the cord. Thank you to everybody who's been on this amazing journey with us. And if you haven't had the opportunity or the spare jingle to help us out, maybe now's a good time. Think about donating just $1 an episode. May not mean much to you, but it means the world to us.
Yeah, you guys have to redo that video.
No,
you
we
look
don't.
You're so
Why?
young.
Is it because we look so young and
more
thin?
New people. All right, let's talk about how to watch. And in fine Cordkillers tradition, How to Watch is about Netflix. Netflix earnings were this past week, beating expectations overall, but falling short with subscriptions in the United States. Worldwide, Netflix added 8.76 million subscribers for a total of 167.1 million subscribers worldwide. Its fastest growing region right now is Asia Pacific, where it added 1.75 million subscribers. Netflix, however, only added 520,000 subscribers in the United States when it expected 600,000. It knows it's starting to reach saturation, but it still thought it would get more. Financially, Netflix reported stronger than expected revenue, earnings per share of $1.30 when people expected it to be 53 cents. So it looks like Netflix is doing fine this quarter. Netflix also has started citing viewer statistics based on a shorter amount of viewing time. A watch used to mean, we've talked about this before, that someone had completed 70% or more of an episode or film. That counted as a watch. That was all the numbers Netflix was giving before now. However, this time around, Netflix reported chose to watch. 76 million households chose to watch The Witcher, and 83 million chose to watch Michael Bay's Six Underground. Now, those are still huge numbers, but choosing to watch is defined as starting a film or episode and watching at least 2 minutes of it. So that's a much easier barrier to entry for your numbers. Netflix also announced an animated spinoff of The Witcher. Nightmare of the Wolf is coming, and that prompted Julie Alexander over at The Verge to suspect that Witcher, and maybe Six Underground, since they're naming those stats from Six Underground, could become Netflix's first franchises, where they start giving you multiple properties from the same universe.
This feels like, on the hits versus watching thing, a fairly massive retreat, which makes me think, because it also comes very quickly on the heels. We were surprised that they even started bragging about a view being 70% and started giving views just over the last few months. And now to retreat back and then call, chose to watch, essentially you're talking about clicks instead of views. Also, the other thing is, I'm surprised. Let me put it this way. If I were Netflix and I'm looking at the United States, we did it. We cracked the code. We figured it out. We figured out how to give specialized niche programming to America. And then we figured out how to crack the code with international agreements and start expanding outwards or whatever. There's a lot more money in the rest of the world than there is here in America, where it is getting very crowded very quickly. We just gushed about how good Peacock is looking. So if I were Netflix, I personally would give nothing but lip service about how, no, we're still doing great here in the United States. Look at us. We're, and I would redefine what the numbers mean to keep shareholders happy, but secretly I would just plan to take over the rest of the world and let everyone else argue over the scraps that we left behind in America.
Well, and also don't forget that the plan for Netflix has always been to be ahead, right? Right now, everybody's coming in with great originals. Netflix has had great originals, and they've beefed up their back catalog with their own originals. Now what they need is franchises. So that Julia Alexander piece at The Verge makes sense to me, which is they need to make sure they have their franchise that people are like, yeah, but there's that new thing from the Witcher universe, right? They want to have that appealing in there. And so they want to make that franchise sound big, and chose to watch is a bigger number. So if you're going to tout that up, you're going to throw that in. They also threw in some stuff about searches because more people were searching for The Witcher than The Mandalorian, but that's apples to oranges because Disney Plus isn't in every market and stuff like that. But they're definitely hammering away on that.
I have a few takes here. Take number one is regarding the 2-minute thing. BS. Trying to BS because
it's a kindler, gentler Merrill Barr.
Because all right, I'm gonna quote a guy I know named Chris Hayner. He works over at CBS, I think GameSpot actually. And he said, "Here's what 2 minutes looks like in terms of that metric."
And then he holds his breath. He goes, "Oh!"
For 2 minutes, easy, not a problem.
The Irishman. The Irishman is a 3.5 hour long movie. Are you really going to try and tell me that telling me watching 2 minutes of The Irishman means I watched The Irishman?
I mean, it means you chose to watch. I mean, technically, that means I chose to watch. Was it Roma, the Alfonso Cuarón movie?
Yeah, how many minutes did you get into that?
About 2 minutes. I chose to watch it.
And also,
because the idea with 2 minutes is not like, oh, I started it and stopped it right away. It's like they gave it. It wasn't an accidental click, right? But doesn't mean you liked it.
Sure, but also like some shows, their title sequences are 1 minute long. So half of that you haven't even watched the show yet. You haven't watched long enough to make a judgment.
How many minutes of Six Underground is The Irishman worth?
Wait, how many minutes of Six Underground?
Never mind.
That's bad, man. Dude, all I know is I love Six Underground. I can talk about that movie all day. I've watched that movie 3 times. But the other thing regarding the franchises, this is where I think it's important. Remember, when Netflix started, they did it on the back of everyone else's library. So now with, like we were talking about Peacock has the entire Universal library to launch itself with. HBO Max has the entire Warner Brothers library to launch itself with. Disney Plus, you see where this is going. Netflix has a library. I'd argue it doesn't have a rewatchable library. It doesn't have a library where you go, I want to revisit that show in its entirety. Everyone wants to revisit The Office and 30 Rock.
Well, which they historically paid extravagant amounts to keep in the Netflix library.
Right. So what they need in terms of franchises, it's not just that they need franchises that will cause you to go, oh, the new thing from the Witcher universe. They also need the franchises where people will go, I finished the series, I want to go again. Let's go for another round, man. Or like every 6 months you go, I want to do another round of that show. They don't have that show right now.
Definitely. And I think they feel like the main Witcher series could be that. It could be a Game of Thrones like thing where people want to rewatch, whether it is or not. Totally different topic. The other thing about saturation, especially in the United States, right, is, well, once you've reached all the people willing to pay for you and you've got smaller and smaller amounts increasing your subscriptions, you can offer them a free version with ads. And people have been pressuring Netflix to do that for a few years now. In the earnings call, Reed Hastings once again said Netflix would not do ad-supported content. And this is why I was hammering away about NBC having it built in, because they already know how to do this. Hastings said, Google, Facebook, and Amazon are tremendously powerful at online advertising because they're integrating so much data from so many sources. There's a business cost to that, but that makes the advertising more targeted and effective. So I think those three are going to get the most of the online advertising business. In other words, he doesn't want to make Google, Amazon, and Facebook richer by doing an ad-supported thing that they're selling the ads for. He also doesn't want to try to compete with them from ground zero. And so he just thinks it's better to continue out into the rest of the world and get subscription only, because then he can wrap himself up in the cloak of, we don't collect information about you and share it with third parties, because he doesn't have to.
Historically, Netflix has built so much on the we're ad-free premium experience behind the paywall, all of that stuff. You will truly know that they have abdicated America the moment they ever allow any kind of ad version of that. You will know that that is a cynical grab to get goodwill from the current shareholders as they expand their outward invasion of the rest of the planet.
What I think could happen is not an ad support. I don't know if they'll ever have ad support here. They spent too long building up. It's like HBO. They spent too long building up a truly ad-free experience. However, do I think that they could set up tiers where it's cheaper? Cheaper tiers where you go. Let's say you want to watch just whatever's new on Netflix, whatever came out in the last month or two. You can have a tier that gives you that catalog, instead of having the entire library, or a catalog that has a rotating list of shows. So you have a certain amount of programs. Like I think I think they could look into having different tiers, because they kind of already do. Like I just got this new 4K 50-inch television, and when I logged into Netflix on it for the first time, it goes, "We see you're now watching on a 4K TCL television. Would you like to upgrade your account so that you can stream in 4K?" Which I didn't, but they're already doing this, so it would just be an expansion of their existing model.
And they have the cheaper version in India for mobile as well.
Right.
So they're already starting to dip their toes in that water. It's true.
There's another move as well where they could preserve their integrity by bundling a year of Netflix for free with other garbage. Like buy these 3 magazines and get a free year of Netflix, and then it's still ad free. Or like the
Disney Plus thing, where it's like, are you a Verizon subscriber? Get a year of Disney Plus for free.
Do you think they would ever syndicate their originals to ad-supported services like Pluto?
I believe it.
They did. They tried to do it with Arrested Development. Fox with
the new episodes. Yeah, that was sort of a hybrid original though to begin with.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about like there's a Netflix channel on Pluto that you can watch without a subscription, and you don't get to choose what's on there, but it gets you hooked to shows, and then you want to pay for Netflix.
I totally could see a world where digital syndication through AVOD but like they would have a large window for that. Like if they did it, like if they launched it right now, the first thing you're seeing is like season 1 of House of Cards.
Yeah, and I could see a Pluto channel called like Netflix Selects or something, where technically it's not Netflix, and you don't get to decide. Maybe you don't get it on demand, where it's just like a TV channel made of Netflix stuff that is in a traditional.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I could see that too. Also, when they do that, that means they're giving up on America for real.
When they also, like, the other thing they could have is, again, how many times have we talked about having a linear 24/7 streaming channel of Netflix original content? If you did have any sort of ad idea, you could have an ad-supported free linear channel, just one channel that anyone can watch, full of whatever they choose. But it's just always there.
Man, all right. We're running behind. We got to speed up.
Yeah, let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location. Under surveillance.
HBO said his Dark Materials racked up a cumulative 5 million viewers thanks to co-viewing, which is a term for when a family watches together. Could be just 2 adults, but often it's children. Casey Bloys said it was HBO's biggest co-viewing show yet. Second season is already in production. And HBO and BBC are evaluating whether to order a 3rd season now based on these numbers. Bad Wolf, which is producing the show for HBO and BBC, would like to split the 3rd book into a 3rd and 4th season. So that's in play as well.
That feels more of like that number fudging. I don't know.
No, this is a real number. Like co-viewing means like, oh, this appeals to families. Usually it's more important when you're selling advertising, because then you can sell it to advertisers who need to, hit a family with kids. But with HBO, I guess it means like, oh, we're picking up a demographic that doesn't subscribe to us as often because we're seen as an adult service.
Yeah, I like the idea. That's a video game I want to play where you hit a family with kids.
And also, that you're getting a new generation of
viewers, right? HBO's House of the Dragon is now scheduled to arrive on HBO and HBO Max, I guess, in 2022, referring to the Long Night prequel written by Jane Goldman that HBO shelved. HBO head Casey Bloys said, "One of the things about House of Dragons is there's a text, there's a book, so that made it a little bit more of a roadmap for a series order."
Which is a really sly way of saying, wow, didn't those last 2 seasons that didn't follow the book suck?
Well, no, it wasn't sly at all. He actually said this is one of the problems we ran into Game of Thrones is because we didn't have that written material. He acknowledged that straight up. But also, Martin has only written 1 of a planned 2 Fire and Blood books upon which House of the Dragon is based.
I'm sure it'll be just around the corner, man. Dude, swimming in free time.
Yeah, no one ever worried about basing a series on an unfinished series of books ever, said HBO. While Studio Ghibli titles will come to HBO Max in the United States, Netflix has acquired the rights to the 21 Studio Ghibli films it has the rights to stream for all of the Netflix regions except Canada, Japan, and the United States. Netflix will subtitle the movies in 28 languages and provide new dubs for up to 20 of them. First release comes to Netflix February 1st, with the rest following on March 1st.
Dude, new dubs is a really good play, especially on the Studio Ghibli stuff, because that is such extraordinary, universally renowned quality that essentially I mean, it ends up feeling like an original in any language, basically.
Apple will premiere 3 new series at the South by Southwest Film Festival in Austin, Texas this March. A documentary called Beastie Boys Story from Spike Jonze will play. An animated musical series from some folks behind Bob's Burgers and the movie Frozen called Central Park will be shown. And a few episodes from a docu-series from the creator of Chef's Table called Home, about innovative houses.
Spike Jonze is the guy that did a bunch of the Beastie Boys videos. All of your favorite Beastie Boys videos were directed by Spike Jonze, one of the co-creators of Jackass and a number of other things. So that I'm super excited about.
All right, let's talk about some notes. A new trailer for Star Wars Clone Wars is out. 7th and final season arrives on Disney Plus February 21st. Season 2 of Altered Carbon has a date on Netflix, February 27th. 8 episodes coming then, with Anthony Mackie playing Takeshi Kovacs this year. Remember, Kovacs can slip his disc into different bodies. So this body is Anthony Mackie's. Netflix show You, based on books by Carolyn Kepnes, will get a 3rd season of 10 episodes, expected sometime in 2021. Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories premieres on Apple TV Plus March 6th. A TV series called The Continental, taking place in the world of John Wick movies, coming to Starz on May 21st, 2021, so next year. Better Call Saul Season 5, remember, is coming to AMC February 23rd, and they have announced the renewal for Season 6, which will be the final season of Better Call Saul. That's coming, this final season is coming in 2021. A couple other notes here. Steve Martin and Martin Short are beginning a true crime spoof comedy series for Hulu. They don't have a name, but the concept is 3 strangers with a true crime obsession get caught up in a crime. A trailer is out for Ghost in the Shell SAC 2045. That's coming to Netflix in April. That's the one with the 3D CG animation. Big departure for Ghost in the Shell. Very controversial in some people's minds. And Hollywood Reporter says Marvel has cut its Howard the Duck and Tigra and Dazzler animated shows. Not going to happen. Not going to come to Hulu. They are still going to do the animated MODOK and Hip Monkey animated shows for Hulu, as well as the live action Hellstrom.
Man, lot to parse there. Do you have a favorite beat in the middle of those, Merrill?
Yeah, and I cannot say why, but it's the Continental.
Okay.
I know things.
I am a bit surprised that they're scaling back on the Marvel money wagon, but I don't know.
I'm not.
Okay.
Well, Kevin Feige just kind of took over that shop, remember, about 6-10 months ago, something like that. So I'm not surprised to see things get shaken up one way or another because of that.
I'm actually surprised any of it survived. I'm surprised Hellstrom is going to keep moving forward. I'm surprised that MODOK is going to keep moving forward and Hitmonkey are going to move. I'm surprised anything survived that transition. So the most interesting one is Hellstrom, like the fact that he's going to let that live action the animation is one thing. Letting a live action show go through based on his promise means that thing's going to be MCU proper. So that's what that means.
So promotion.
All right. So
yeah.
Only other comment is, how is it that Bob Odenkirk can play literally any age? I don't understand it.
What are you thinking of?
Well, I'm thinking about how he was the old dad fumbling around in Little Women, and now he's playing a 28-year-old lawyer or whatever.
Your answers are your questions are answered in the show Undone on Amazon, where he's a time traveler.
That's right.
There you go. Brilliant. All right, let's talk about what we've had our eyes on. Something you watched recently that you loved, Merrill. What is it?
Okay, so before I say what it is, by the way, last season Supernatural killing it this season so far. I just gotta say. All right, so moving on from that, 68 Whiskey, Paramount Network. You probably haven't heard of it. This thing, if you love the show Enlisted, this is like if FX did Enlisted and it was an hour long. There's a 3-episode arc where one of the characters has a pet goat. and it's about these soldiers who are in a NATO base in Afghanistan, and it's a little offbeat in just the right ways. It is as far as I'm concerned, it's the first great new show of the decade. This thing is so unique. I love it.
This is like a MASH set in current times.
Yes. It's basically new MASH, but I'm trying to avoid the MASH comparison. But it's I love it. It's got a lot of heart, a lot of drama, but it's also really funny. And it's just got that vibe where it's like these are people in a serious situation, and they're serious people. They're med tech, specifically the three that we follow in the show. But they are also really just funny people.
And if you're wondering, you can get this show on Fubo and Sling because they have the Paramount Network as part of their packages, as well as buying episodes apparently from like Amazon, Apple, etc. That's cool though. You were telling me about this before, Merrill, and it sounded interesting. And then when Brian compared it to MASH, I'm like, oh, okay. Because I now go, oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. It's just the more I think about it, the more interesting it gets. I might have to check this thing out. Brian and I have the same one for this week. It is Star Trek Picard.
We'll talk about it during Spoilerin time. Tom, is it accurate to say that we liked it?
It is accurate to say that I liked it. Is it accurate to say that you liked it? I
liked it very, very much. And I went in very cynical, very skeptical, very on edge. And it's like the opening scene teared up, kind of broke my heart. Then the first action set piece. And I'm like, that's I can understand why somebody would have a beef saying that's not Star Trek. But as somebody who's ready to see Star Trek, the next generation, we'll talk about it in spoiler time. Suffice to say, it's much, much better than I dared hope, and I liked it a lot, and I don't resent getting that subscription to CBS All Access.
I'm just going to speak the headline of my review for that show. Star Trek Picard is a great transitional moment for the Star Trek franchise. I'll leave it at that.
I didn't expect them to get me to care about it.
I will say one very, very minorly spoilery thing. It's not even a plot spoiler, but when they have Patrick Stewart run upstairs, he runs out of breath. Realism, folks.
I don't know. What's funny, that same scene, as he went, like Bonnie's all caught up in the action moment, and she hears me go, that's a stunt runner. like there's definitely some not Patrick Stewart running in there.
For as out of breath as his character was supposedly. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Also, I want to throw a word out for The Magicians. I finally got back into watching it because it's on Netflix. And I was more than a season behind because the new season just started. So I went back and I had to catch myself up on season 3 because I'd forgotten parts of it. And I'm just plowing through it now. I loved these characters. I love these storylines, and I don't know why I fell so far behind, but I'm very glad that I'm catching back up.
I am always interested by when I find out who of my friends ends up liking The Magicians, because I tried it. I couldn't get into it. I went a season and a half, but everyone I know loves The Magicians.
I fell out of love with it for a while, but we're back together. All right. What do we have on the lookout, Bryce?
Hey, we got an email from Kyle who writes, "Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. I have a show recommendation for you, and I don't know if you've heard about the latest Stephen King novel turned into an HBO show called The Outsider. It aired Sunday night, and the first 2 episodes are live. This email's a little old, so there are 4 episodes now. It's based off one of his books from the last few years, which I liked a lot. It's interesting to see what people think about the show or what's going to happen, because obviously when you read the book, you know the twists. I hope you guys enjoy. Kyle from Tampa, Florida." Thanks, Kyle. I actually ended up binging this over the weekend off of a recommendation of a friend, and I really dig it. It's kind of a True Detective / The Night Of style crime murder mystery drama. In fact, the Richard Price, who did The Night Of, is the writer for this, but it's also got a little bit of a supernatural bend to it. And also Jason Bateman is in the first few episodes and directed the first couple of episodes. Merrill, I heard you also watched this, right?
I did. I reviewed it like 68 Whiskey. I loved it. You know what? I love this show. I thought it was a fluke during the fall. This is one of the strongest seasons of television we've had in a few years. Just nothing but great after great after great. It's truly fantastic to see. I really enjoy it.
So The Outsider is airing now on HBO on Sunday nights, and it's streaming same day on HBO Now and HBO Go.
In fact, I was at a Sword and Laser meetup this weekend, and Buzz, who organizes those, was preaching the good gospel of The Outsider, so saying how good it is. So it's coming from all quarters. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. Brian?
Yeah, man. Look, normally I'd be pimping some project or other right now, but I just want to give my heartfelt praise to the fine folks who provided us with so much hardware that keeps this loud, live, and independent. Our friends over at Doghouse Systems. Look, I'm not saying today's the day you need to go out and buy a new PC. Sooner or later, you're going to want to buy a new PC. You're going to want somebody who has high-quality stuff that we trust personally, who are friends of ours, and you're going to want to get something free. So do me a favor, head on over to doghousesystems.com/v/rogue. Use promo code ROGUE at checkout. Right now, you get a free SSD. You'll always get something good, but the more important part is that you will be showing them some thanks because they believed in us when nobody else had any right to, and they provided us with an amazing amount of equipment that keeps this thing alive.
Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Writer Hossein Amini has reportedly left Disney Plus series Obi-Wan, and the show is now delayed for shooting. Ewan McGregor confirmed that shooting had been moved to next year, saying, "We just pushed the dates." Came out, Rise of Skywalker came out. Everyone had more time to read the stuff that had been written, and they felt that they wanted to do more work on it. It's not nearly as dramatic as it sounds online, Anakin. Deborah Chow is still attached to direct. That hasn't changed.
They should just make it a movie. Like, because the part of the article is also they're shaving the order to 4 episodes. Just make it a freaking movie. Give Deborah Chow a movie.
You know what? This seems like a good transitional press release to get yourself in a good position to do exactly that. If what, the next press release might be, you know what? We thought we were going to do 4 episodes, but we realized what we have is so good. We're going to make a movie.
Yeah. And on Disney Plus, movies can be whatever length we want. We don't care.
That's right. Disney Plus will launch on March 24th in the UK, Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Austria, and Switzerland a week earlier than originally planned. The streaming service will cost £5.99 per month or $59.99 a year. Disney Plus launched in the US and Canada in November and previously launched in the Netherlands as a testing ground for the platform. Congratulations, guys. You're in the club. It's going to be great.
Switzerland, finally getting something.
Like not invaded.
Oh no, they never get invaded. They're
I know
neutral.
That's the point. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That was the joke.
Oh right, yeah. Finally, something is invading Switzerland. Disney Plus. There we go.
You won't be neutral about your love for Disney Plus.
The Mandalorian. YouTube TV won the PlayStation sweepstakes. It has become the first TV service to arrive on the PS4 since Sony announced it was shutting down its own PlayStation Vue service mere days from now on January 30th. YouTube TV costs $50 a month. That's the same as the cheapest PlayStation Vue plan was. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm surprised because in the void left by PlayStation Vue, I subscribed to YouTube TV for about 5 minutes when I realized that between all the different professional platforms, accounts, Monorogue, my personal account, all that other stuff, it was a nightmare and a mess with my kids. It's like I don't want to be logged into one YouTube account and not the other. So I ended up leaving and going to Hulu, but apparently I made the wrong choice.
Thing about Hulu is it doesn't have AMC, so when Better Call Saul comes back, I'm going to have to subscribe to Philo or buy it, which I haven't decided which one I'm going to do. But
it's only going to cost you, what, $30 to buy the season?
Yeah.
That's
so
probably
if
what I'll
that's
do.
all I need. The thing about Philo is it'll get me Comedy Central and MTV, which Eileen might be interested in, but then she might not care. So I don't know. I got to figure that out.
A recent Gallup poll found that the library was the most frequent cultural activity outside the home in the U.S., with U.S. adults taking an average of 10.5 trips to the library per year. That's just about twice as frequent as the second most popular activities, going to a movie theater for a movie at 5.3 or seeing live sports at 4.7. I heard an interesting hot take recently that libraries were is it regressive? Is that what you call it when rich people get richer? Like the people who frequent libraries, ironically, tend to be people who are of the means to buy the media, but insist on doing stuff free.
That's not what this Gallup poll says. This Gallup poll says, and the most frequent visitors are people in lower income brackets.
I'm very happy to hear that, because I had heard a hot take to the contrary.
It's interesting because I'd be curious to know, like, the only reason I can imagine this being the case is libraries have free Wi-Fi. So if you want to go somewhere for free Wi-Fi that doesn't have to cause you to buy coffee, you can go to a library and set up your computer. So
yeah, I feel like a lot of this probably has to do with families taking the kids to the library.
Yeah.
But yeah, however, men are more likely than women to visit casinos is also in this survey as well.
Shocker.
Yeah. Netflix signed a multi-year deal with animation studio Titmouse to get first crack at its series, at any of its series that it develops. Big Mouth for Netflix comes from that studio, which has also worked on shows like Venture Brothers.
Very cool. And CBS says January set a record for subscriber signups to CBS All Access. Wonder why? Beating the previous record, but set in February 2019. Back then, CBS had the Super Bowl. This month, it had the Grammys and the premiere of Star Trek Picard.
Yeah, it sure did. All right, let's get to the dispatches from the front. I guess one of us made a joke about redhead discrimination on TV. I don't remember this, but I believe it. And Trent wrote in with an impressive list of characters that were redheaded in the original content, but on TV were changed to non-redheads, including Iris West from Flash, Jimmy Olsen on Supergirl, Starfire on Titans, MJ in the new Spider-Man, Scott Lang in Ant-Man, and a few notable exceptions like Archie Andrews in Riverdale and Sophie Turner as Jean Grey in the latest X-Men movie.
And also, Torrent Fiend wrote in and asked us for our thoughts on Dabby, a $400 tablet with its own voice assistant. You're familiar with this, right, Tom?
Yeah, this was at CES, and Torrent Fiend said it's not quite there, but it seems like it's going in the right direction, and I totally agree. This is a weird product. It's $400, although you don't have to pay for a subscription after that. So it's just buying a tablet that can't do all the things a tablet can do, but it's got its own operating system, probably Android-based, but it claims to be its own operating system with its own voice assistant, with the idea being you buy dongles and it can cast to whatever TV you hook the dongle up, so you can just say, I want to watch Riverdale, and it will go to the web and find where Riverdale is. If you're subscribed already, it will log you in and start streaming it to your TV. If you're not, it will tell you, hey, Riverdale's available from here. Do you want to get it? Here are the places you can buy it. And it keeps track of your subscriptions. So it's got some nifty features that are kind of along that route of like, I just want a thing to tell me, like, just play the thing I want to play and manage my subscriptions for me. It's just a little bit wonky in that it's a $400 device.
This feels like a test bed for what could be software. Like
totally.
They threw it on their own hardware, but really the idea is to eventually get the software onto other platforms.
Definitely.
Hey, Merrill Barr, where can we follow all of your adventures?
You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Merrill Barr, MERRILBARR. And as you guys know, I used to come on here all the time and pimp my podcast, Word Tetris. Well, as of today, Word Tetris is over. And I am now selling it's over, man. And I'm now selling the archive of Word Tetris, which includes all of the full episodes, all the Patreon content for $50. But because I love you guys so much, through February 3rd, which is the rest of this week, I am giving you guys, you Cordkiller listeners, 25% off the archive. So if you go to the buying page, which is wordtetris.com/archive, and put in the promo code CK at checkout, you'll get 25% off, which is $37.50.
Now, Word Tetris, you get a bunch of behind-the-scenes thinking of what, writers or specifically?
The concept, the original sell was it's a show about rewriting. So it's like learn how to rewrite, because rewriting is a huge part of the process. No one considers it, and kind of evolved into doing all these cool chats with various showrunners and writers.
I just figured out why it's called Word Tetris, because you start with a script and then you play Word Tetris.
Yes. But yeah, so archive, wordtetris.com/archive, $50. 25% off if you use the promo code CK. It's the letter CK, caps, lowercase, doesn't matter. In the checkout, you'll see the little enter your promo code when you do checkout.
Yeah, like this is like a deep well of learning that Merrill's making available to you. It's awesome. Hey, folks, our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, also carried on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Come join us. We'll talk to you again next time.
Hey guys, Brian and Tom here, and it's just the same old message at the end of the credits, just like always.
That's right, Brian. Nothing new here except your name showing up.
Oh my gosh,
because
I've got a
you
name.
just supported us on Patreon.
Yeah, all those $5 donors, look at that. That's your name in pixels. We're gonna make you famous, kid. Put your
There's
name in
some
pixels on
classic
the internet.
names in there, but some of you are new. Some of you aren't there. It's sad. What can they do, Brian?
I mean, they could go to patreon.com/cordkillers and pledge $5 an episode and be one of these amazing people, like this one.
Amazing.
Oh, look at that name right there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.